Shalom, everyone. I'm Amir Tsarfati, and welcome to yet another episode of the Anchor podcast. The anchor, the hope that we have, is like an anchor to our soul, and we aim and strive to bring you hope through the topics and the people that we host here. So together with me today is Dr. Dina Aweda. Shalom, Dina.
Shalom.
You are a doctor of biology in Israel's highest institution for science, and it's called the Technion. Am I right?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. And you happen to be also the daughter of our pastor, our beloved pastor here in Haifa in Bet Eliyahu. But you are one of the most passionate people in the country when it comes to pro-life and the battle to educate people on the sanctity of life and the danger of abortion.
Yes, I would say, I don't know if I'm the most expert here in the country, but it is something that's been on my heart from a very young age.
And I'm sure you have some story here.
I do.
So tell us about that story.
Yes, so I was born in Norway in 1991.
So your mom is Norwegian.
My mom is Norwegian.
Your
my
father
dad
Israeli.
Israeli. They were both students in Oslo. They had just gotten married not long before they discovered that they were pregnant. So an unplanned pregnancy. They went to the clinic to check this, and they realized my mother was pregnant. And the first thing the nurse handed to my parents was paperwork for abortion.
Whoa.
They didn't ask for an abortion. They didn't mention an abortion, but that's the first thing they received.
So it was an automatic response of a nurse to a situation where pregnancy was unexpected.
Right. And they were students. They had no money. It was obviously not the perfect timing. They didn't have the resources. So she assumed that that's the natural reaction to the news of being pregnant.
Let me guess. They said no. I mean, you're sitting right here. Huh?
I'm sitting here. Thankful for my parents.
Yes.
They said no. I think my father said, "Excuse me, but we don't kill our own children. That's not how we do it." And they left. But yes, this is the story I grew up with about my life, how my life started. And
so they told you about it.
They told me,
and that sort of what stayed and was engraved in you, the fact that so easily people were ready to give up on you.
On me, yes. So sometimes to think about it, this nurse, what she actually was saying is, you, Dina, she didn't know me, but it was me in my mother's womb, don't deserve to live.
Yeah. I mean,
for what reason?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if if she could have felt the same way telling friends of hers about an animal that they own. I mean, I think that in our age and era, people find it tougher to put to sleep an animal than to abort a baby.
Yes. I think the value of life has decreased so much that unborn babies are, in the eyes of many today in our culture, are really worth nothing.
They are clusters of cells.
It's a clump of cells. It's not a living thing, even though science tells us otherwise.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
And you're a scientist. It's not like you're an uneducated, some hillbilly that all you know is that you don't kill babies. You know exactly what it means from the time of conception that there is life.
Yes. So I think science has been very clear about this all years, that life begins at conception. I mean, we have a cell. It's so interesting because, each cell in our body has a different function. Their morphology is different. They're meant to do something. Like I research muscles. The muscle cells are created to contract. That's how they're built. We have heart muscles. We have skin muscles. We have intestine cells. They they do different things and they have a purpose in a way. At time of conception, we have a very special cell that has one purpose, you could say, which is to develop into a human being. It's the only cell that has this capability of dividing into all cells of our body.
And creating life, basically.
And creating life. And that's amazing in itself.
Yep, it is.
That from one cell we get a human being, a baby.
And at what age the fetus becomes a baby with a heartbeat and, all of that?
So the heart cells start to contract at 3 weeks. That's very early.
Many times they don't even know that they're pregnant at that time.
Exactly. I read once a statistic that said that most women discover they're pregnant between week 4 and 7.
Where there's already a beating heart.
Right. Or at least the cells are beating. The heart is still developing, so it's not a whole heart yet. But we still have a heartbeat of the fetus. And I think what's amazing today is that with all our technology, with all our advanced science, there has never been a time in history where we have so much proof of the life of a fetus inside the mother's womb. I mean, in the 50s, in the 60s, I think the ultrasound was invented. Until then, they couldn't hear the heartbeat. They couldn't see anything. But today we have so much evidence of the humanity of the fetus that it moves and it sucks its thumb and it can recognize its mother's voice. And there's so much we know, and we can do even surgeries on babies while they're inside the womb. We can save their lives while they're inside the womb. But at the same time, there's this growing conception that it's a clump of cells and it's not worth anything.
And isn't it interesting? You can take a couple that is really excited about a baby, and they will say, we're expecting a baby.
Right.
And then you can take a couple that this pregnancy is not exactly what they're excited about, and they will call the exact same thing a lump or a cluster of cells.
Right.
And it's in the eyes of the beholder, but it has nothing to do with facts. It has to do with how they feel about that.
Right. So that begs a really deep question of does our worth come from our being as human beings, or does it come from the circumstances in the life we're born into?
So is there a moral debate today about abortions?
I think that it has sort of disappeared. I would say years ago, and not that long ago, you could sit two people with different opinions and they would have a real discussion about whether abortion is a moral thing to do or not. And you would have pros and cons for each side of the debate. Today, from what I see, especially the younger generation, is that it's not a debate anymore. Like, there's no question whether abortion is moral or not. It is, and it's become a human right, a woman's right.
Yeah, it's interesting because the semantics are the way that the enemy is trying to cheapen life of the unborn. I mean, I'm thinking about the pro-lifers and the pro-choicers. And I'm always thinking, how stupid can one be to think that the opposite of pro-life is pro-choice? I mean, grammatically, it's wrong. I mean, in the literal sense, the opposite of pro-life is pro-death.
Yes.
And if there's something that we know that you have to do in order to keep the baby alive is choice. Make a choice.
Right.
So to be pro-life is to be pro-choice, is to choose life. And by the way, God said to Moses all the way in Deuteronomy 30, choose life. I put before you death and life. And then he says, choose life.
Right.
So it's a choice, isn't it?
It is a choice. I usually don't call, I call them pro-abortion, not pro-choice, because each one of us has a choice.
Exactly.
The difference is the choice we're making.
Exactly. And so, we're coming around the season of the U.S. elections, and And there's of course the Republicans that predominantly are against abortion, and there's the Democrats that predominantly are pro. But then there's the independents, and I found it very interesting that on the financial side and in the economy, they are leaning towards the Republicans. But when it comes to abortion, God forbid, it is something that they want to continue and keep on going. It seems like it is bigger than we can even imagine. The will of people to hold on to that option of eliminating life of the unborn, yet not having to feel guilty about it because it's legal.
Right. I think first of all, it's important to say that having a baby is not easy. So we do have a choice. It doesn't make it, even though we believe there's a right choice, which is life, it doesn't necessarily make it an easy choice. Raising a baby, the finances. I know from my parents, they had to sacrifice a lot to have me.
But also making the baby is a choice.
That's also a choice. So that's what I always say about my body, my choice. That is true. But you also have a choice regarding your body before the baby comes.
Exactly.
And nobody talks about that.
Exactly.
And I think that we have to acknowledge that pregnancy can be hard. Having a baby can be hard. Therefore, I'm all for talking about against abortions, but also I think we should create a society where it's safe to have babies, where the choice wouldn't be that hard. So how do we as a community help the people around us who might need financial help right now so they could have their baby? So it's not just talking about the idea, but practically helping these people.
Or if they can't keep the baby, have an alternative for them and yet still keep the baby alive.
Right, like adoption.
Exactly.
Today, people don't even talk about adoption. It's either abort the baby or keep it. But we do have the option of adoption where you don't have to kill the baby. You can give him the life he deserves as a human being. And it would be with someone else that can love him better, who can give him what he needs. But I would say generally, I feel like this generation is a bit about having a comfortable life. Having a baby is difficult. Having difficult conversation is difficult. People don't even like to discuss things with people who don't agree with them. Mm-hmm. We also see that. So I think there's this trend of anything that could make my life harder, maybe I can eliminate that. So I can be in my comfort zone, what I'm good with, but what I like, what makes me happy. And we sort of want to take away hardships and challenges and struggles we have in our lives. So I believe that's part of why abortion has become so normal. So again, it's not even a discussion of whether it's moral or not. It's an option. Worst case, I abort the baby.
You're an activist when it comes to, working with organizations in Israel that are pro-life and writing as often as you can online about this topic. I would like to read to you one of the most courageous speeches in history was given by a 4'11" in a Catholic nun at the National Prayer Breakfast in 1994. Bill Clinton was the president, full-blown Democrat, full-blown pro-abortion. Mm-hmm. The speaker was Mother Teresa, and to her right was the Clintons, to her left were the Gores. And I want to sound what she said, okay?
It is really a war against the child, a direct killing of the innocent child, murder by the mother herself. And if we accept that the mother can kill even her own child, how can we tell other people not to kill one another? How do we persuade a woman not to have an abortion? As always, we must pursue her with love, and we remind ourselves that love means to be willing to give until it hurts. By abortion, the mother does not learn to love, but kills even her own child to solve her problems. And by abortion, the father is told that he does not have to take any responsibility at all for the child he has brought into the world. So that father is likely to put other women into the same trouble. So abortion just leads to more abortion. Any country that accepts abortion is not teaching its people to love one another, but to use any violence to get what they want. This is why the greatest destroyer of love and peace is abortion.
So, as Mother Teresa said in 1994, we need to help the mother reach that decision.
Yes.
And find out that love sometimes hurts, but it is by far the most important thing.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's what's missing from some believers who talk about abortion, because they only talk about the act and that it's evil, that it's wrong. But then we're not, as believers, I think we're not here just to talk. Let's help, let's support the people around us. And I think that's a very important role of the community, of the churches, that we can also be a light in this darkness and not just speak against it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that this is one of those topics. They're very close to my heart personally, because even us about 12 years ago, we expected our fourth child, and the doctors, even in our case, the doctors found something wrong with some of the amino protein, whatever it is. I don't even know what it was. So from the moment we decided to keep the baby, we received a hostile treatment. And then eventually, when our fourth was born, the same doctor that wanted us to get rid of it is the one who delivered the baby and saw that he was perfectly healthy. And I don't think there was any remorse. I don't think there was any problem. All right, so this guy is okay, but maybe it could have been something. I mean, it's unbelievable how easy it is today to just decide to stop the life of a human.
Yes, and it seems like we only want perfect babies to be born.
That's true.
If they have some disability. I know in Israel, from stories I've heard from people, that if the child has any disability,
they expect you.
They would very quickly suggest to abort them. And it could be them being deaf or blind or an albino kid, I heard a mother once said, and they can live perfectly fine in this world. So what is love? Is it accepting people as they are and helping them with their difficulties that they may have? Sometimes the doctors are also wrong, like in your case.
Yes.
It's all chances and percentages of things they predict. So is killing them more loving than being there for them in their struggles that they might have?
You allured earlier when we talked before the podcast, you said that it is much deeper than just abortion. You said abortion is just one facade of a greater revolution that this world has gone through or is still going through. What is it?
Yes, I think in the 60s, we had the sexual revolution that took place, or sexual liberation, some people called it. And it was actually challenging the whole view of the traditional marriage, sexuality,
gender,
homosexuality. And after that, we can see with time, what happened is that many things that were considered immoral not only became moral, but we see them as good now.
Preferred even
preferred in some cases. So it has normalized abortions and pornography and homosexuality, the pill, and all kinds of things that started with the sexual revolution that was meant to give more freedom to people.
But it was more freedom for what? To just have fun.
Exactly.
It was not
to do what you
freedom
want.
to be hardworking people, freedom to be more loving or more caring. It's literally, I mean, those are the days of drugs, sex, and rock and roll.
Exactly.
I mean, it was that they wanted to do without consequences.
Right. And that's exactly what abortion is, right? You don't deal with the consequences of what happened and the baby that was created. So I think abortion is a byproduct of something much deeper in our society, which is how we view relationships and marriage.
It is amazing. I'm always thinking about how much money and effort governments take to protect life. I mean, literally, we build militaries to supposedly protect life. We build educational systems, health systems. We do everything we can to prolong our life, to protect our life, and yet we are so easily killing the life or the unborn without even giving them a chance to live their life.
Our society is pro-life in its
exactly
basics, let's say.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's all about staying alive. Yes?
Right, and our society is based on Judeo-Christian values, basically biblical values. I mean, we have laws against murder, against rape, against theft, against anything that hurts human beings. But then somehow this line was drawn at birth.
But even that line is being crossed right now. Even now they are even suggesting that even if you change your mind after the birth, there is still hours or days
period of time
where you can still abort even though the baby is perfectly fine. It was already born.
Yes.
And I mean, they're pushing that goalpost more and more and more to the point that it doesn't really matter anymore.
And how far will it go?
Exactly. And isn't that interesting? They always use this, what if the girl was raped? What if this? And I'm like, you know what? Why don't we only do that? Okay, I agree. Let's do that only when it's the rape.
About the 99%.
Exactly. 99% of the abortions then will be illegal. Because they're using the 1% to justify the 99%, which has nothing to do with rape or any crime.
Right.
Or even any disability. It's all about, I don't feel like having a baby right now.
Most of the time. Or they do have some struggles, but again,
it's financial struggles, it's stuff like that. It's not like the baby itself has a problem.
So maybe instead of investing money in the abortion clinics, we can use that money to help women who are pregnant with their babies.
Absolutely. See, there's so many solutions. I think that the thing is, right now, they vilified everyone that speaks about pro-life to the point that you are misguided, old-fashioned monster almost. And again, a sign of freedom, liberation, liberal lifestyle, and progression. Abortion is part of that.
Right.
And I find it horrific that killing a human being is actually a token of liberation.
Yes. If you're pro-life, you're against women. But that's what they say. But what I say, no, I'm very much pro-women. And it starts with me wanting them to be born.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Our women's right doesn't start when we're 18. They start at the time of conception.
Exactly.
50% of all the abortions are women, are girls.
Yeah. And I think it's very diabolic to call killing something that makes you feel good and give you better life. This is by itself diabolic. Right. I mean, if killing just for the sake of feeling better and having easier life, that's satanic. Literally satanic.
Abortions have been so normalized that I do believe that there are women, there are people who truly believe it's not wrong. They've been so brainwashed into this.
I think most of them nowadays think it's not wrong.
They honestly believe it's not wrong. But I find it hard to believe any woman who has been through an abortion, if she really thinks about what happened, I find it hard to believe that it doesn't do something that she can really feel 100% okay with that. Actually, a few years ago, I met a guy. He was in his 40s, 50s. And he told me that when he was young, his girlfriend got pregnant. He wasn't a believer back then. They had an abortion. And he said, today, 20, 30 years later, I am crying over my son or daughter that I lost. I didn't realize it back then, but today,
because when you have the Holy Spirit, then you have the Spirit of God in you, and the value of life now is just exploding in you. Because that's the heart of God.
Yeah.
God told us choose life.
Right.
God, demands payment for anyone that is killing. I mean, in other words, killing is such a bad thing. And it's very interesting because even when God told the Israelites to get rid of specific people, it was because they were killing. It was because they were worshiping gods that demanded human sacrifices. And so it's, I'm thinking, here we are, it's 2024, and it seems like if I was God and I had to judge the world for one of the most important things that would be in the top of the list is for the shedding of so much innocent blood.
I think it's one of the greatest tragedies of today's culture.
Yeah. And I'm looking at least, in the case of Jeremiah the prophet, where he acknowledged in the first chapter that God actually anointed him and blessed him and called him to be a prophet while he was still in his mother's womb.
Right.
That tells you that while a baby is in his mother's womb, God already has a plan for him. God already has a whole book of life for him. And so also in Psalm 139, it talks about how fearfully and wonderfully
he knitted David in his womb.
Exactly. We were made fearfully and wonderfully in the womb, and it's not wrongfully, and it's fearfully and wonderfully. It's amazing. And I think even doctors, when they go through medical school, they're amazed at this human machine. It's how everything is made there. And anyway, I want to encourage you to continue.
Thank you.
What you're doing. If you guys don't know, but Dina writes from time to time online. You write some posts on what platforms are you active on?
I have an Facebook and Instagram account. I also write on faith. We'll see, but I also have some pro-life posts here.
So we're gonna give you Dina's details of her Facebook page and on her Instagram, and we encourage you to follow her, but not just to follow her, but also to share the content that she is writing on. You write in English mostly, no?
Yeah.
So it's very easy. Take that and just share it with people. You will be blessed, and many others that you share it with will be blessed as well. So Dina, it was an honor to host you here with me today. I think it's one of the most important topics that, one could talk about. I would like to have you again here whenever you can to talk about other things that you're very passionate about, such as the authority of scriptures and other things. But until then, I want to thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.
And for all of you, I want to thank you for listening and watching this podcast. Again, the Anchor podcast, the faith and the hope that we have, that is an anchor to our soul. And I hope that you received hope from what we talked about, and also wisdom, not only for yourself, but to share it with a lot of people that are struggling with this type of dilemma. Should we keep the baby or not? Let's have the heart of God, based on the word of God and the way God values life and views life. And I'm sure that you will. I don't think anyone can ever regret for keeping his baby. if anything, you will probably regret for not doing that. God wants you to live. He wants your children to live. In fact, one of the tokens in the Bible of being blessed is, may you see the children of your children. U'e banim levanecha in Hebrew, we say, that's a token of blessing, which means be fruitful, multiply, and don't kill your babies. Actually see them alive and growing. So thank you again for watching, and again, follow Dina on social media. Thank you, and I want to say goodbye from Connect in Galilee. Thank you, and God bless you. Shalom.